The Blood Road to Mongol Throne. They say the steppes raise men of iron, that wind and war shape the spine of a Khan long before he wears his crown. But no wind could have warned us of the betrayal that shattered our bloodline. No war taught me how to raise my hand against the brother who once slept beside me beneath our father's torn furs. My name was Bekter, and before history made Temujin into Genghis Khan, before the world trembled beneath his hooves, he was just my younger brother, lean, sharp-eyed, always watching. We were born into the Borjigan clan, sons of Yesuge the Brave. When our father died, poisoned by the Tartars, our world collapsed overnight. No more guards, no more yurts filled with laughter and meat. Just cold, hunger, and a mother, Hoelun, who fought like a lioness to keep us alive. The clans abandoned us. Worse, they hunted us. For even boys bore blood that could claim leadership. We became wolves, lean and desperate. Temujin grew quieter, fiercer. Where I sought alliances, he sought control. Where I offered coin, he offered steel. And our people followed him. Not at first, but eventually. He had something I did not, a fire that would not die. At 13, he killed his own brother, my half-sibling, over a stolen fish. I remember that day, the blood on his hands, the way he didn't flinch. He defied my law, he said. My law. He was already wearing a crown in his mind. I should have stopped him then, but I was his brother, and I believed blood should never turn on blood. Years passed, we scavenged, we fought. We clawed our way back to power, one skirmish at a time. Temujin's reputation grew, not for mercy, but for vision. He spoke of uniting all tribes under one banner, not through fear, but law. A world where no man would steal another's horse without justice, where even the lowliest shepherd could rise. He was dangerous because he dreamed beyond the horizon, and men followed dreams. One night, by the Tool River, he came to me. We need to break from the Taichi-ud, he said. They think us tools. Let's show them we're kings. They protected us, I replied. They fed us when no one else would. And they'll kill us when we outgrow our usefulness. I saw in his eyes the cold truth of it. He wasn't wrong. But still, I hesitated. That hesitation cost me my place. He left that night with 40 riders. By the new moon, he'd raided a rival camp, stolen weapons, taken women as prizes, and returned a hero. The Taichi-ud elders looked at me not with scorn, but pity. I was the older brother, now standing in the shadow of the younger. Temujin's fame spread. He freed captives, broke the backs of warlords, and offered spoils to the lowest horsemen. Men once loyal to me now offered him their oaths. It wasn't until he wed Berta that I understood how far he would go. She was no ordinary bride. She brought alliances, wealth, and legitimacy. With her, he became more than a warlord. He became destiny. But fate is jealous, and men, even brothers, more so. I tried to stop him. I gathered dissenters, whispered of bloodlines and tradition. He was born from desperation, I told them, not prophecy. I plotted. A council of clans. A moment to corner him. Force him to bend or fall. But he found out. Of course he did. Temujin always knew where the whispers crawled. He didn't confront me with rage. He came to me with tears. You're my blood, he said. Don't make me choose between you and the future. You already have, I answered. He left that night. No threats. Just silence. I awoke the next morning to the smell of smoke, my tent ablaze, my guards slaughtered. I fled with nothing but a blade and a name no longer spoken with respect. My brother had declared me traitor. The clans nodded in quiet agreement. I wandered then, through the wild lands, through the borders of China, through the cold fingers of the Altai. I saw what he was building from afar. An empire not yet born, but screaming to be. I watched him defeat the Merkits, break the alliances of Jamuka, turn enemies into generals. And I burned, because I knew what others didn't. That behind the vision, behind the legend, behind the wolf skin and eagle gaze, was a boy who once begged me for stories, who once clung to me when the winds howled through our shattered camp. That boy was gone. He had been buried beneath the weight of conquest, but I remembered. I remembered the fish. I remembered the silence. I remembered the eyes that never cried. Years passed like hoofbeats in snow, swift, brutal, and leaving no trace. I lived in the shadows of the empire he built. From the outer steppes to the ruined edges of Shishya, his name spread like wildfire carried by the wind. Temujin, Genghis Khan, lord of all beneath the eternal blue sky. But to me he was still my brother, my blood, my burden. I watched from exile as his banners rose higher. As the tribes bent knee, he had done the impossible, not through cruelty alone, but vision. A code of law that punished greed and honored loyalty. Merit over blood. Order over chaos. A world where men once forgotten now held the power to change fate. But such a world had no place for men like me. I wandered, nameless. In taverns I was a ghost. In garrisons, a whisper. Always one step ahead of his scouts, his informants, his reach. Yet I knew he never hunted me with steel. Only with silence. That silence was the sharpest wound. And still I remembered. The cold nights beneath the stars. The dried meat passed hand to hand. The laughter shared over cracked ribs and stolen goat milk. Memories became curses. Until I heard the rumors. A traitor had risen in the ranks of the Khwarezmian court. A Mongol who had abandoned his people, selling secrets for silk and sanctuary. They said it was me. But it wasn't. I had betrayed him only once, and that was enough. This time, it was someone else wearing my name, spilling my shame for coin. And Temujin, no Genghis now, sent word through fire and fear that he would face this ghost himself. I traveled north toward Karakoram, not to clear my name, but to meet him. One last time. Not as a rival, not as a brother, but as a mirror. I came alone, wrapped in furs and ash, my blade rusted, my limbs thin from years of wandering. They let me into his camp without resistance. They knew who I was. The guards parted like mist. His tent was vast, lined with wolf pelts, and guarded by silence. Inside, he sat by a low fire, his armor beside him, his sword resting across his knees like a sleeping dragon. He did not look up. "Bekter," he said. My name had never sounded so heavy. "I'm not the traitor," I said. "No," he answered. "But you were." I stepped closer. The heat of the fire kissed my skin. "You've become what we feared." He looked at me then, not with hatred, not even with sadness, just the weariness of a man who had carried too much for too long. "And you," he said, "became what we forgot." I laughed, bitter and broken. "All this for what? Thrones? Empires? You lost yourself the day you stopped needing me." "I lost myself the day you chose pride over blood." "And you," I whispered, "chose conquest over kin." Silence stretched between us, not awkward, not tense, just final. Then he stood, taller than I remembered. The boy was gone. Only the Khan remained. "The men speak your name like a wound," he said. "Do you want to be healed or carved out?" I stared into his eyes, those same eyes that had once searched the horizon for meaning, now hardened by years of war, betrayal, and power. "I want peace," I said. He nodded. "Then kneel." My knees bent slowly, not from submission, from the weight of memory, of loss, of knowing that blood spilled by a brother is never truly washed away. He placed his hand on my head, not in blessing, in judgment. "You are no longer Bekter of the Borjigan. You are no longer anything." I rose, hollow. He turned away, and just like that, I became myth. I left that night without a name, a man whose past had been buried beneath hooves and ambition. But I saw him once more, years later, from the edge of a hill as he led his army westward, toward Samarkand, toward kingdoms that would fall like wheat. He did not see me, or maybe he did, but he did not stop. Genghis Khan, my brother, the ruler of half the world, had no time for ghosts. And I, Vector, last of the forgotten, last of the betrayers, faded into the wind, carrying a name that no longer mattered. History remembers the conqueror, but I remember the boy,